Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Sergeant John Perrine, State Police Public Information Office. The Roadshow is brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary for the State Police Alliance. For more information about our sponsor, you can visit their website at www.indianasfinest.com. We've got quite a show for you today. Back for a second week in a row, my good friend and good friend of the show, Captain Mike Pruitt, Wayne Township Fire. Thanks for coming.
Anytime, John.
Glad to be able to pick that wealth of knowledge you have floating around in that brain of yours.
Well, I've just stayed downtown. I really never go home.
You're a lot like me.
I just wait for you to call.
You're a lot like me. You probably wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with a great, fantastic idea, and then you go back to sleep and forget about what that great idea was.
I do. Unless I have my notepad next to my bed, write down, or send an email to myself. Yeah, it's usually gone by the next morning.
Yeah. So anyway, if you haven't seen Mike's work, he does a lot of great things in the city of Indianapolis and Wayne Township Fire. Very passionate about public safety. Very passionate about messaging, and one of the hardest working, busiest guys I know for sure. And I'm not joking when I say that.
What am I going to owe you after all this?
Yeah, I feel it sounds like I'm. I don't even have any fireman jokes in the can today. So
none. Well, good.
We'll see where the conversation
moving
goes.
forward.
Yeah.
Before you think of one.
So last week we talked about safety, swimming pool. Excuse me. Swimming pools, retention ponds, boating, bicycling. We talked just summer safety. This week we're going to talk about a little bit of something different, and that's awareness. That's see something, say something, and it's so important.
Right. When we throw that term Homeland Security out there. It's not necessarily just a branch of government. It's something that we're all responsible for as our own Homeland Security. So if you're just the everyday citizen on the street, you are part of this country's Homeland Security. And so the more people, the more eyes we have, and especially in today's world, we see the tragedies unfold across the world where bad things happen. And in many of these cases, maybe somebody recognized something but did not report it. And so as we're in these summer months and, we're dealing with outdoor events, whether it's concerts, whether it's the Indianapolis 500, major events, this is when we really need to be aware of what's going on around us.
And a lot of times it's easy to walk past something and say, oh, it's none of my business, or maybe I'm just being paranoid. But that vigilance is key, and not just seeing it, but being willing to communicate that concern to somebody else so that it can be properly investigated.
Right. I think, we go back, this country changed immensely after 9/11.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like it was just yesterday, we're coming up to closing in on 20 years since that event occurred, but it changed how we look at things in this country. And I think it's made our folks more responsive to incidents and jumping in and helping, but also making them more responsive to reporting things that they see that aren't right. But again, you mentioned that sometimes people don't want to get involved, and we need people to report things. And don't ever feel silly if you see something that's not right. And we're talking about whether it's someone's personal behavior or a package, something's out of order. These are the things that we need to know about, and it needs to be reported so that at least can get checked out. Because the worst thing you want to do is you see something, you go, that's none of my business, and then something bad happens. We don't want to see that. So the more eyes we have on what's going on around us, the better we're going to be, the safer we're going to be in our community.
And, this isn't an actual statistic, but for the sake of conversation, I would say more than 99% of all of the suspicious packages or bags that we investigate turn out to be nothing.
Correctly.
But we will happily investigate 100% of those packages, 100% of the time, for the chance to save one life.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid to think, oh, well, they're busy, they have more important things to do. It is important that if you see something out of place, that you let us know. That is a very important aspect of our job as public safety officials.
We have, when people walk around, and you and I get it because we're in public safety, and when we see something that's not right, just walking into the building today, we're looking around going, where are the exits at? Yeah. Why do they have security here? We're thinking about those things because we work in it every day.
Yeah.
But the everyday citizen on the street, you get that feeling in your stomach when something's not right.
Yeah.
You recognize it. And those moments when you see something and you got that little stir in your stomach,
That's right. And
that you need to report something.
There is not a clear definition of the word suspicion or suspicious, because every situation is different. If it's 95 degrees in the middle of July and I see somebody wearing jeans and a sweatshirt and a coat, that gets my attention. That doesn't mean I'm going to call the police and say, oh my gosh, but I'm going to take a close look. I'm going to watch their actions. I'm going to see, kind of trust my instinct, trust my gut to let me proceed. And sometimes I've always heard it say that a nosy neighbor is a good neighbor. And that sometimes is the truth, because I can't tell you how many burglaries and things have happened because a neighbor saw something and called us, or because we go talk to the neighbor and they're like, yeah, I saw a black van in the driveway and here's what it looked like and here's what the guy looked like. And so being vigilant, being willing to help out your neighbors with that kind of stuff could be the key to safety, survival, and security.
No, very true. And if you do see something, we're not asking you to personally intervene, especially if it's a package or something like that, or somebody's left a gym bag laying somewhere. Right. We don't necessarily need you to go check that out. We just need you to report it.
And a lot of it is where. If somebody left the gym bag in a locker at the gym, that's not really suspicious.
It's not.
If somebody leaves a gym bag on the steps of the courthouse or on the steps of the police station or the fire station or something like that, then so take into context that a bag by itself is not necessarily suspicious. A briefcase by itself isn't suspicious. It's about where it is, time of day, all of those things come into play. But people want to know, who do you call? If you see this thing, do you call 911?
You can call 911. I mean, if it's one of those things and in your gut, it's telling you this is a bad situation here, there's something wrong. Maybe you asked an individual to produce proper identification and that individual leaves or doesn't, have any conversation. Those are moments when there's a red flag going up. Yeah. And so never be afraid to call 911. If there's a non-emergency number in your community that you can reach out and call, then do that to notify law enforcement so that they can get there and check that out. But it still comes back to you got to let somebody know.
Let's talk a little bit about the workplace, because a lot of offices now, workplaces now, have secure doors where they have public entrances, and then sometimes the employees have access to a different door. Mm-hmm. Are you vigilant enough when you come into work, if you see somebody milling around that back door that you don't recognize? Or maybe it is somebody you recognize and they tell you, hey, I just forgot my pass today. What if they got fired yesterday? What if they're out there waiting to get in because they have revenge on their mind? That's vigilance. That's being aware of your surroundings. That's not paranoia. That's preparedness. And so are you willing to say something to somebody if you see these types of things?
We do see those things happen across the country, especially where something, workplace violence type issues where, someone was let go from their job or they're having an issue at home and for whatever reason they feel like that they need to come to work and take out.
And they know they can't come in the front door because maybe there's security, maybe the manager sits for whatever reason. And
bad things happen. And I know when we go back and we look at some of the after action reports that they produce to go back and look and see what went right and what went wrong, many times they find where, someone let them into the building.
Or propped the door open because they were lazy.
Because, they had to run out for a second and they propped the door open. The security measures are put in place for a reason. And, a lot of times we find where there was something happened in that security system that due to human error that allowed that bad incident to take place because they found that loophole.
I often tell people there can be no security without sacrifice, and security is not convenient. Locking all the doors in your house when you go to bed at night, that's not always a convenient thing to do, but why do we do that? For the peace of mind that you're secure in your home. And so it should be the same place at your workplace, at your child's school, at churches, some churches. Those locks on those doors are important. And it's not just to keep evil people out, but believe it or not, there are evil people out there that are trying to make a plan to get into these places, and we'll do what we can to prevent it.
John, I've traveled the world, and I've seen the levels of security that are put in place in many parts of the world, and it almost takes the freedom completely away. So we're very lucky here in the United States that we do have security in place. Having our people vigilant will help us keep those freedoms here in this country, so we don't have to walk around and live in fear all the time. And in a lot of places in this world, people do. I mean, they're used to living in fear. And but with us going out, being vigilant all the time, we're going to reduce that. That's the chance that somebody gets to come in and cause harm.
Yeah. So we're coming up on the Indianapolis 500 Memorial Weekend. A lot of things happening. What's some advice you have for somebody if they're going to the Indianapolis 500 or any other large event? We speak of the Indianapolis 500 not for any specific reason other than there's 300,000 people in one place. What are some planning things they should do once they get there, and maybe even before they get there?
One is have a plan in place, and it could be anything, any type of emergency occur, whether it's the mini marathon, whether it's the race, anything that goes on in the month of May around here, any large event, any large concert. It's having a plan what to do before something goes wrong. And it could be a weather-related event. I mean, this doesn't have to be any act of terrorism or anything like that. It could be just a weather event. What are you going to do if severe weather rolls in? We're going to have a meeting point, outside of, the venue, wherever that's at. So planning ahead, thinking about what you're going to do. Make sure you have everybody's phone numbers that you need in your phone to get transportation.
And maybe somewhere other than your phone, because if you lose your phone,
true,
phone goes
or
dead.
goes dead. Yes.
If you carry a wallet or a purse or something like that, write down some of those important phone numbers and stick them in there.
Yeah,
that's. I think all of us in the year 2019 don't have very many phone numbers memorized up here anymore.
We don't. The phone numbers I have memorized in my head are all left over from the old rotary or any type of touch tone phone that I would have had in the house, not from my cell phone.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate because my wife has had the same cell phone number since we were in high school, so I'm able to remember her number, but very few others.
So it's just having that plan in place.
An exit plan.
Look, when you're going into a venue, whether it's a motor speedway, whether it's an outdoor concert this summer, have an exit plan. Look where your exits are.
Because the best way out may not be the way you came in.
Exactly. Because that may be if everybody remembers where they came in, that's where they're going to go out.
That's naturally what our bodies will do to us. And that is under that stress, we'll try to go back the way you came.
It is. And there's usually multiple exits, and those are put in place because we have to have exits in place to do that.
And what's interesting is once you start doing these things so long, this situational awareness, this vigilant, it becomes subconscious. You walk into a place and you probably notice exits within 2 or 3 seconds, and then you go about your business. You don't paranoid yourself with searching for exits. You don't walk around the room looking. You just glance up. Hey, there's an exit sign. There's probably a way out that way.
Yep, I'm always looking, and it just comes along with the business that we're in. You just get so used to looking for exits or coming up with a plan in your mind of what you're going to do if an emergency occurs.
Yeah. And, sometimes there's unexpected emergencies that require evacuation. We're not just talking violence or fire, but, I think back to the stage collapse at the state fair. There was a lot of people trying to leave, and a lot of places got gridlocked. So, it's easy to incite panic in those situations. So that plan and that patience could be the key to getting out safely.
Well, anytime panic ensues, almost worse things happen during the stage of panic than happened at the actual initial incident. So, taking a deep breath, taking your time, looking around before you take your seat, or if you're standing or wherever you're going to be, just be ready. It could be everything from the lights go out at a venue. When the lights go out, everybody, especially if it's, people get frightened and start, rushing out, or, storm rolls in, or, someone's had too much to drink and causes a ruckus, and all of a sudden, it causes a bit of a panic at an event. I mean, these are things that think about and how you're going to respond to that.
Well, and a lot of that, something so simple as getting trampled or getting smashed, everybody trying to get into a door. Have that in your plan. Think about maybe going a different way that other people aren't going. Especially if you have your children with you. And if you have children with you, make sure that's part of your plan too, because you can't just run and expect your 4-year-old to keep up with you.
Yeah, they're not going to keep up with you. I mean, so it's very important that you take care of them first.
Absolutely. So the key is this. We have about 40 seconds left. Let's recap. See something, say something. Suspicion, trust your instinct, because your body's going to tell you if something's not right. Mm-hmm. Time, place, all that it takes into account.
You just keep looking around. Always look around. just take a glance around you, just see what your environment is, having the plan for what to do if an emergency does occur.
Communicate that plan.
And communicate that plan with everybody around you, and have a meeting place somewhere because you may not be able to get away in traffic.
Yeah.
It may not be a case of being able to get in the car and drive away. You may have to walk somewhere.
Yeah.
So having that place to go is very important.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming, Mike Pruitt.
Thank you.
And you have been listening to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. Roadshow out.